Deadwater Crossing wasn't a place folks ended up by accident. It was where people went to disappear, or to be disappeared. Heat shimmered off the dirt road, and dust curled in lazy spirals, waiting to settle on another forgotten name. She came walking down that road like a ghost out of old stories. A rope dragged behind her, looped around the neck of a tired mule, and behind that, bouncing over the uneven ground, a coffin, not polished, not store-bought, rough wood, nailed fast by a trembling hand. She wore a faded calico dress and a bonnet that shaded her face, but there was no mistaking who she was. God in heaven, someone muttered at the well. Ain't that Anna Hart? Whispers spread fast in a dry town. By the time she reached the saloon, glasses froze midair, and every man who'd ever condemned with a glance was watching through fog windows. Inside, the piano hit a wrong note and stopped altogether. Judge Eustace Lantry, still bloated from 10 years of unchecked power, leaned over his whiskey glass with a smile like a snake about to strike. She's back, he said to no one in particular. The squaw wife, coffin and all. Sheriff Briggs didn't answer. He'd been here long enough to remember the last time Anna Hart walked this road. Only back then, she wasn't dragging a coffin. She'd been dragging a child behind her, his small fingers clenched tight around her skirts. Anna didn't look at the people on the street. She didn't flinch at the stares or the silence. She just walked on, the mule's hooves clopping against the ground, the coffin bumping behind like a burden too heavy for one soul to carry. She stopped at the edge of the churchyard. The old cottonwood tree still stood there, roots sunk deep in cursed soil. She unhooked the rope and let the coffin fall with a thud beside an unmarked patch of earth. She knelt, opened the lid. Inside lay a bundle of bones, neatly wrapped in an old cavalry jacket, worn through at the elbows. Folded over the ribs was a Comanche necklace, bone beads, eagle feather, red thread faded to rust. Anna pulled it free, held it to her chest. Her voice was soft, barely wind. "Tocho," she whispered. "They called you savage, devil, less than a man. But I remember the man who held me like I mattered, the man who gave me a son." From the gate, Briggs stood with his hat in hand, the silence between them as heavy as the grave. "Most women don't bring a man's bones back to the town that hanged him," he said quietly. She didn't look up. "I ain't most women. You think it's safe what you're doing?" "I don't care if it's safe," she said. "They took my boy, sent this coffin instead. Said he turned bandit, like his father. But they sent no grave, no picture. Just this." She pulled a blood-stained letter from her coat. The ink was smeared. Her name was spelled wrong. Her son's name was spelled wrong. "I want truth, Sheriff. That's all." Briggs hesitated. Truth's a dangerous thing in Deadwater. Anna finally stood. "So am I." Back in the saloon, Judge Lantry took a slow sip from his silver flask, then placed it gently on the table. He turned to the two deputies sitting with him, men who'd never worn a real uniform but wore the badge just the same. "She'll stir up ghosts," Lantry said, "and this town is made of ghosts." "You want us to run her out?" one asked. Lantry smiled. "Let her dig her own hole. Then we'll be there to fill it." That night, Anna sat alone in a room above the inn, lit only by a single oil lamp. She opened her satchel and laid out the few items she still possessed that hadn't been taken by war or law or time. A child's rattle, carved from wood, charred at the handle. A tin-type photo, her son Isaac, age 8, his smile uncertain. And the letter, the goddamned letter. She stared at it for a long time, then folded it again. She was shaking. Out beyond Deadwater, on a stretch of land no settler would touch, an old fire burned beneath a buffalo robe. A Comanche elder sat cross-legged, eyes closed. Anna approached and kneeled beside the flame. "I brought him home," she said. The old man didn't open his eyes. "Bones, not breath," he said. "I know, but I need to find the boy. They say he's dead, but they lie." The elder opened his eyes, slow as a sunrise. He took the rattle from her hands, turned it over. "They took him east," he said. "Said he rode with outlaws. But I saw the chains. He wasn't free. Who took him? Soldiers. But not the kind you can name. I need help. He said nothing for a long time. Then, "There's one who owes your boy a debt. Come here." Your son called him uncle. She nodded. "Where do I find him?" "You don't," the elder said. "He finds you, if he chooses." By morning, the wind changed. Townsfolk said the light felt strange, the sky tighter than usual. Anna stepped outside then just as a lone rider came down from the North Pass. He rode like he'd been born to a saddle and baptized in fire. He wore buckskin pants with settler boots, but across his chest was a bow and a quiver full of black-fletched arrows. His face was Comanche. His eyes were darker than night. He stopped just shy of the gallows. His horse stamped once. Then he spit into the dirt, right where the noose had once dropped Tocho. Anna stared. She knew that face. He looked at her, and something in his jaw tensed. His voice was flint. "You gave my brother peace," he said. "Now I'll help you find your son." For a long time, Anna couldn't speak. She stepped down off the porch. Her voice cracked. "Come here." He nodded once. "Where do we start?" she asked. Where they stopped sending bodies back. Later that evening, thunderclouds crawled over plains. The judge leaned back in his chair, sipping rye as the storm cracked far off. "They'll try," he said, "but truth's got a price in this town. And Anna Hart already paid hers in blood. What more could she have left to give?" Outside, the coffin still lay by the cottonwood tree, unburied. Inside it, a set of bones. And on top of those bones, a child's rattle. Still, waiting. Night swallowed the town of Deadwater like a snake curling around prey. Inside the church, candles flickered and bled wax down the altar. Anna sat in the back pew, alone. Her hands were folded, but no prayer passed her lips. She wasn't here for forgiveness. She was here to remember. A few townsfolk trickled in behind her, whispering like mice. They didn't speak her name aloud, but it moved through them in breath and glances. A woman once hung by gossip, now reborn in rumors. From the pulpit, the priest cleared his throat. "Anna Hart," he said, "you return after a decade. Some say you should have never come back. Others, they say you never truly left." Her eyes rose to meet his. Calm, empty. There was nothing left in her that needed approval. "I came to bury the dead," she said, "and to find the living." Outside, hooves clattered. A second rider had entered town, mud spattered, wearing a faded military coat with no insignia. He carried no visible weapon, but he had the posture of someone who'd survived too many ambushes. He nodded at the innkeeper and tossed him a coin without speaking. Comanche watched from the shadow of the livery barn. He didn't blink. His instincts didn't trust uniforms, no matter how stripped or faded. Later that night, Comanche and Anna met in the abandoned blacksmith shop. Wind hissed through the open beams, and rusted tools hung like forgotten prayers. "He's not dead," Comanche said, voice low. "Isaac, I found a railman near Flat Rock who saw him 3 weeks back, shackled and heading west with bounty riders. They said he robbed a payroll train, killed a white man." Anna shook her head. "He wouldn't. Doesn't matter what he did. It matters who says he did." She looked up, eyes burning. "We get him back." Comanche reached into his coat, pulled out a map. "They're holding him somewhere between Eagle's Hollow and Cutter Ridge. That's 2 days' ride and a desert in between. Then we ride tonight." Comanche raised an eyebrow. "You ever cross the Scorpion Flats at night?" "I cross worse to bury bones." At dawn, the two riders slipped out past the edge of town. No fanfare, no goodbyes. Just a trail and two hearts too tired for words. By midday, they hit dry land. Scorpion Flats stretched for miles, a boneyard of sun-bleached rock and lizard trails. Heat shimmered off the earth, and vultures circled like slow-moving clocks. Anna's canteen went dry before sunset. Comanche gave her half of his, saying nothing. They camped by a dead mesquite tree. That night, as she drifted between sleep and memory, she heard drums, not real ones, but the kind stitched into her blood from another life. Tocho had once told her, "Love like ours only survives if it remembers where it was born." She remembered. The morning brought wind, dry and howling. Sand whipped through their coats as they climbed a ridge. In the valley below sat an abandoned relay station. Smoke rose from the chimney. A tethered horse whinnied. Comanche spotted them first. 3 men in long coats, one with a rifle slung low. Another sat whittling something on the porch. They weren't army, not law, bounty riders. From a saddlebag, Comanche drew a spyglass. He passed it to Anna. She saw him, Isaac, tied to a post, hands raw, lips split, but alive. She felt something break loose in her chest. Hope, terror, maybe both. We'll wait until dusk, Comanche said, then move through the ravine. Quiet. Anna looked at him. No, we don't wait. He's bleeding now. Comanche didn't argue. He just reached for his bow. They approached on foot, through the tall grass. Shadows long and growing longer. The man on the porch never saw Comanche's arrow. It took him clean in the throat. No sound, just a wet rustle. He dropped the whittling stick and rolled off the step like a sack of wheat. The second bounty hunter stepped out the front door and caught a bullet from Anna's pistol square in the belly. He collapsed, howling. The third didn't go down so easy. He ducked behind a feed barrel and returned fire, grazing Anna's shoulder. Comanche moved like a ghost, silent, lethal. He flanked the man and wrestled the rifle from his hands, driving the blade up into his ribs. Silence returned as sudden as it left. Anna ran to Isaac, cut his ropes with shaking hands. He fell into her arms. "Mama," he rasped, voice dry as ash. "I'm here," she whispered. "I've got you." Comanche stood nearby, watching the horizon. They'll have friends. We need to move. They stole fresh horses from the shed, packed what little water they could find, and rode hard into the night. By the second day, Isaac could sit straight in the saddle. His skin was fevered, but his grip on the reins was steady. At camp, he told them everything. They took me from the Comanche village after Uncle Tocho's death, said I was salvageable. Tried to turn me into a scout. When I wouldn't play soldier, they sold me to a rancher up north. I ran. They put a price on my head. Anna's jaw tightened. "You're not what they say," she said. "You never were." "I'm what you made me," he answered. "A survivor." The wind shifted. Comanche's head turned. In the distance, dust. A rider. No, more than one. He counted 4. They mounted without words and took to the rocks. By twilight, they found cover behind a row of boulders near a canyon mouth. Then came the waiting. Hooves thundered closer. Faces emerged, men with badges, rifles, and hate. One called out, "Anna Hart, this is Sheriff Malloy out of Larimer County. You're harboring a fugitive and aiding an outlaw. Stand down." Anna stood tall atop the rock, Isaac at her side. Comanche below bowstrung. No law that hunts a child for his blood is worth respecting. Anna shouted. A rifle cracked. The bullet missed her by inches, hitting stone. Comanche loosed an arrow. One rider fell. Gunfire erupted, loud, echoing, violent. Comanche moved like lightning, weaving through the rocks. Isaac fired from behind cover. Anna reloaded calmly, lips pressed tight. 2 of the riders turned and fled. When it was over, silence returned, broken only by Anna's breathing. She walked to the last man, Sheriff Malloy, wounded but alive, crawling backward. He reached for his gun. She stepped on his hand. "You sent me a coffin," she said. He wheezed. "It was meant to scare you off." "Then let me return the favor." She raised the barrel. Comanche grabbed her wrist. "No, this ends with mercy, or it never ends." She looked at him, trembled, lowered the gun. They rode out under the moon. 3 hearts bound by blood, loss, and something like justice. At dawn, they reached the Comanche camp in the hills. The elder greeted them, said nothing, just nodded once and took Isaac into his arms. Anna stood beside the fire as the sun rose. "You found him," the elder said. "No," Anna whispered. "He found me." Behind her, the desert wind carried the sound of a rattle, not from memory, but from a child's hand. A week passed in the Comanche hills, but time felt like it stood still. Isaac's wounds began to heal, but his eyes stayed dark, hollowing away only the hunted ever carried. Anna sat beside him by the fire each night, never asking for more than he could give. She brushed his hair with her fingers the way she had when he was small, but now his shoulders were broader than hers, and the child she remembered was buried somewhere inside the man time had forced him to become. Comanche kept to the edge of the camp. He watched the horizon, always expecting riders. He spoke little, but when he did, it was truth wrapped in steel. "They won't stop," he told Anna one evening. "That judge, Lantry, he'll send more. Maybe not tomorrow, but soon. You humiliated him." She nodded. "Then it's time I return the favor." Isaac looked up. "You can't go back to Deadwater. They'll hang you for sure." Anna smiled without warmth. "Let them try. I've already been buried once." That night, a storm rolled in. Thunder cracked like distant cannon fire. The tribe lit no fires. The wind howled down from the canyons, as if the land itself was warning them. Anna slept with one hand on her pistol, and the other clutching the carved rattle Isaac had left behind as a baby. It was the only thing she'd never let go of. At dawn, the decision was made. They would ride back to Deadwater. Comanche came without question. Isaac tried to argue, but Anna placed a hand on his cheek and said softly, "You don't bury the past by running from it." They rode with the storm still clinging to the sky, dark clouds trailing behind them like old ghosts. As they approached the edge of town, the air shifted. The gallows stood tall again. New rope, fresh beam. The town had been preparing. Inside the saloon, Judge Lantry leaned back in his chair, sipping brandy from a crystal glass. His deputies flanked him, 3 now, all armed, all eager. When the barkeep leaned in and whispered, "She's back," Lantry didn't even blink. "Let her come," he said. "Let the whole town see who the law really is." By midday, Anna, Comanche, and Isaac rode straight down Main Street. People scattered like dry leaves, pulling children into homes and locking doors. But curtains twitched. Eyes watched. The story was unfolding, and no one wanted to miss the final chapter. Anna dismounted in front of the church. Her boots hit the dust. Her eyes never left the gallows. She walked to it, placed a folded cloth at its base. Tocho's cavalry jacket. Then she turned and faced the town. "I came back not to forgive," she said loudly, "but to finish what should have ended 10 years ago." Lantry stepped from the saloon, spurs clinking. "You got some gall, Anna Hart." "No, just the truth." He nodded to the deputies. They advanced, guns drawn. Isaac stepped forward, rifle in hand. "Try it," he said, voice still. The town froze. No one moved. Even the deputies hesitated. "You think you're some legend now?" Lantry sneered. "You think a squaw lover and her bastard son can ride in here and claim justice?" Anna stepped forward. "I think I'm the last person who remembers what your kind did. The railroads, the forced removals, the hangings without trial. My husband was murdered under your watch. My child sold like livestock, and all you did was raise another glass and laugh." Lantry raised his pistol. "Hang her." But before he could give a word, a shot rang out. His pistol flew from his hand, shattered by a bullet from the bell tower. Comanche stood above, rifle smoking. Gasps echoed. The priest stepped from the church doors. For the first time in 10 years, he spoke truth. "I saw the orders," he said. "The hanging, the cover-up, the sale of Isaac to the Carter Ranch under bounty pretense. Judge Lantry signed off on all of it." Lantry spun. "You lying coward." Another shot, this one from Anna, sent dust flying at Lantry's feet. "Move again," she warned, "and the next one's between your eyes." Isaac marched forward and tossed a document at the mayor's feet. "Affidavit," he said. "Signed by the rail agent who watched your deputies hand me over. Signed by the bounty men we spared. Deadwater's justice was bought and paid for." The crowd that had gathered murmured. Doubt began to spread like fire. Then a woman stepped forward, old, hunched. She pulled a folded piece of yellowed paper from her shawl. "My sister," she said, voice cracking. "They hanged her too, for marrying a Cherokee." More voices, more stories. Old wrongs rising up like weeds in hard-packed earth. Lantry tried to speak. but the words wouldn't come. "You still think I'm a savage?" Anna asked. He didn't answer. She walked toward him slowly, stopping just inches from his face. "No, you're scared. You were always scared. That a woman could love someone you couldn't understand. That a child born free could grow up stronger than you. That the law you were behind might one day turn on you." She turned her back on him and looked at the people. "Make your choice," she said. "Bury truth again or set it free." Lantry lunged for his gun. 3 shots fired. Not from Anna, not from Isaac, from the crowd. He collapsed in the street, eyes wide, mouth gaping. For a moment, the only sound was wind through the broken saloon door. Comanche descended from the tower. Isaac stepped beside him. Anna looked at a cottonwood tree and saw, to her surprise, a grave freshly dug. Someone had done it in the night. Beside it, a small cross, no name carved, just a ring nailed into the wood. Tocho's. Anna lowered the cavalry jacket into the grave and placed a carved rattle on top. The priest came forward, not with words, but a blessing whispered into the wind. The town didn't cheer. It didn't shout. It just stood still and remembered. By sunset, Anna packed her things. Isaac helped her into the saddle. Comanche loaded a bag of supplies and mounted his horse. They didn't stay for speeches. Deadwater watched them ride out, silent. By the edge of the ridge, Anna turned for one last look. The gallows were being torn down plank by plank. Kids ran through the streets again. It wouldn't be perfect, but it might be possible. Isaac rode up beside her. "What now?" She smiled, tired and true. "Now we live." The land stretched wide and empty ahead, but it no longer looked like a place of exile. The wind that once howled like a warning now carried something gentler. Possibility. Anna, Isaac, and Comanche rode quietly for a long time, no destination spoken, only distance between them and the dust of Deadwater. By the 3rd day, they reached the foothills beyond Fort Laramie. Trees returned. Rivers shimmered. The bones of the frontier softened, though they never forgot to ache. They made camp by a creek swollen with spring snowmelt. The fire crackled soft, and Anna sat with her knees tucked beneath her, watching the flames as if they held answers she'd spent years chasing. Comanche worked silently on a small carving, a horse's head etched into bone. Isaac cleaned his rifle with hands steadier than they'd been in weeks. "You're different," Anna said, glancing toward her son. "I've had to be," he said, not looking up. "They taught me to hide. Then they punished me for not being visible. You don't have to hide anymore." He looked at her, one brow raised. "You really believe that?" She didn't answer. The silence wasn't empty, it was honest. Later that night, she dreamed of Tocho, not the man swinging from a rope, the man with laughter in his chest and warm hands, brushing her hair back while their child slept between them. He whispered something in Comanche she didn't understand then, but in the dream, she did. Truth walks slower than lies, but it never loses a trail. She woke with tears in her eyes and the carved rattle clenched in her fist. In the days that followed, they passed through settlements untouched by rail, villages where folks still lived off what they grew and bartered for what they didn't. Some stared, some nodded, some offered food without words, as if they recognized the pain they carried once, too. Near the Colorado border, a rider approached them under flag of peace. An older black man, riding a mule, dressed in Union blue gone pale with age. He introduced himself as Jeremiah Knox, a veteran-turned-preacher-turned newspaper courier. He'd heard of them. He'd read about them. "You're the ones who stood down Lantry," he said, tipping his hat. "It's being printed in papers from Cheyenne to Topeka. They call it the Deadwater Reversal. They're saying maybe frontier law ain't so final after all." Anna didn't smile. She just asked if he had a paper. He did. She read it in silence. The article was short, half wrong, and scattered with phrases like mixed blood and Comanche sympathizer. But the last line struck her. She brought back bones, but left with something alive. That night, they made camp near an abandoned cabin, half burned, but the roof still held rain. Comanche dug a fire pit. Isaac fetched wood. Anna found herself inside, staring at a rocking chair turned toward an empty hearth. She sat, rocked once, twice, then froze. There was something under the floorboard. She knelt, pried it loose. Inside, a rusted tobacco tin. Inside that, a silver wedding band and a folded letter. The paper was brittle, written in a trembling hand. If you find this, I was one Sarah Bell. I married a Cherokee man named Enoch. They took him, and then they took me. If my bones are buried, let them be beside his. If not, burn this note and carry me with you. Anna stood in silence, clutching the letter like a ghost whisper. She stepped outside, placed it in the fire, watched it burn. In the morning, they rode again, but slower now. The land felt lighter, as though the dead had started to rest. They reached an old mission town, where children played near the well, and elders watched from shaded porches. Comanche spoke to a trader in Comanche. Isaac bartered for bread and bullets. Anna sat by a fountain, letting the sun fall over her shoulders like a shawl she forgot she owned. A little girl approached her, maybe 5 or 6, holding out a piece of jerky. "You look hungry," the girl said. Anna smiled. "I've had worse." The girl tilted her head. "Are you the woman who carried bones in a box?" Anna blinked. "Why do you ask that?" "My papa said you did something brave," the girl said. "He said you remembered someone when no one else would." Anna took the jerky, heart stinging. "Your papa's wise." The girl ran off. Isaac walked over, saw the exchange, and sat beside her. "I didn't know stories could live that long," he said. "They don't," Anna replied, "unless someone carries them." He leaned against her shoulder. They didn't speak again until the sun dipped low. That night, around the fire, Comanche finally told a story of his own, of Tocho's first hunt. Of a night, they escaped a cavalry ambush by crawling through a canyon full of scorpions and stars. Of the day Tocho returned with a white woman on horseback and said, "This is Anna. If she stays forever." Comanche smiled for the first time in weeks. He was never afraid, he said, not even at the end. Anna stared into flames. He was afraid of leaving Isaac alone. Comanche nodded, and now he's not. They slept beneath the stars, unguarded. By the next morning, they reached a high ridge. Below lay the Wyoming plains, soft with green and promise. A small town sat in the distance, smoke curling gently from chimneys. It was no longer about running. It was about choosing. Isaac turned his horse toward the valley. "Think they'll take us?" he asked. Anna looked down at the town, then at him. "They won't have a choice." Comanche turned his mount in the opposite direction. "I'm going north," he said. "There are others who need stories." Anna nodded. "Thank you," she said, voice raw. He reached into his saddlebag, pulled out the bone carving, a horse's head, and handed it to her. "For when you forget what you survived." Then he rode off without ceremony, just like a ghost who knew his name would linger. Anna and Isaac rode down the ridge toward the town, 2 silhouettes against the morning sun. No banners, no crowds, just a mother and son alive. Later that year, in that town, a woman opened a school for orphans and half-blood children, where no one asked what tribe you came from, only what you remembered. Her son taught wilderness tracking. He carried a scar across his cheek and never told the same story twice. A saddle was placed under the cottonwood tree back in Deadwater. No rider ever claimed it. But sometimes, at sunset, folks say they hear a rattle carried on the wind, and they remember her, Anna Hart, who carried bones and left something alive.